Hello and welcome to episode 35 of Mouse's Makes Knitting podcast, and it's the last one of the year. I'd hoped for it to be quite a short one, but I've just been gathering all my stuff together and that's taken me an hour and a half. So I don't think it's going to be a short one, sorry. I thought I'd start with a roundup of the year, the knitting year. I began by making a Make 9 list. I bought this little felty thing from Amazon and I did a knitting plan. As you can see, I didn't get very far with it. I completed 2 of my Make 9 projects and I made socks every month apart from, I didn't finish any in November or December because I'd got distracted by Christmas knitting. I did, however, manage to make 24 pairs of socks last year, this year, I don't know how to call it, in 2021. 24 pairs of socks and 2 odd socks that are waiting for their other halves. So technically 25 pairs. Most of them you've seen, but as I didn't start podcasting until April, you haven't seen them all, but I'm not going to fish them all out and torture you with them. I have got one thing to show you that you've not seen, but that's all. Yeah, so that started off as my Make 9 list, and in here I've detailed every project. I've got quite a few photographs to print out and stick in though, because I didn't keep up with that. The Make 9 list, and if you've been here around you'll be familiar with this, became my not very short list, which had, I think, about 23 things on it. As the year progressed, my not very short list became 2 folders, one of which is chock full, and the other one, the smaller one, is just Stephen West patterns. I'm not going to go through them all and show them all to you because it'll be the time to round up 2022 if I do that. So I'm not going to subject you to that. But that's kind of how the magpie Mandy took over and we didn't get through the Make 9 list. I made 6 sweaters, this being one of them. You are familiar with the rocket tee. I made 2 rocket tees. I attempted the first attempt, we don't talk about that one anymore. But the other 2 came out okay. You've seen most of my sweaters that I made during the year. There are 2 I think that you haven't seen. One was for Ewan for his birthday, and it barely fit him when I gave it to him, and now it's far too short in the arms and the body. I think it just about fit him for about 3 weeks. And the other one was one for myself. If you're interested in those, everything is on my Ravelry project page, and I am Mousewitch on Ravelry, so you can go and have a look at the whole year's knitting and some of last year's, when I discovered Ravelry and started adding stuff last year. So I've completed 6 sweaters, and the infamous cardigan, Peter's cardigan, I've clipped it together with quilter's clips so that you can have a bit of an idea. We've now got 2 fronts. Oh, it's not showing up very well. The light is terrible again today. It's not got properly light all day. And if I put the overhead light on, it just makes everything yellow but not any brighter, so I'm not doing that. Yes, so we've got 2 fronts and a back and 1 sleeve. And I've clipped them together as I say, so that you can have a look at it, but also to kind of spur me on. Oh, sorry, it's fallen off. Sorry about that little squeak there. It's fallen off the hanger. Also to spur me on to knit the other sleeve. Once I've done that, there's the button bands. There's no button bands. Oh, I've gone through the wrong. This was such a good plan. Yeah, the button bands are knit after the fronts and then sewn onto it, which I'm afraid I think is just plain rude. It's a hayfield pattern that, for all my plotting and planning, I have forgotten to write down. I will try and link it in the description box. It's a hayfield Aran pattern. I'm not even going to try and guess at the pattern number because, yeah, no, I'm not even going to try. Okay. Blankets. I finished one blanket and I'm going to show that to you now. It's my temperature blanket for 2020 and it's huge. I'm probably starting at the wrong end. Let me have a look. No, that's the right end. So that's January, February, March. What I did was, and this is my own design, I knit squares from the centre out. So I started with a pinhole cast on, and if the month had less than 31 days, I made up the number of days in the middle. You can see on February with the pale grey that I was going to join it together and edge it with. I did it that way so that there wouldn't be extra around the outside of the squares, which would give an optical illusion of some squares being smaller than the others. I know. Are you impressed? I'm quite impressed because my brain doesn't normally work that well. And then what I did was every day I did a minimum and a maximum temperature, and I did one row for each because I needed the squares to be, they're about 13, 14 inches square. And I needed them to be that big to be sort of single bed sized. So January, February, March. And there's April, May, June. We had quite a warm May, as you can see. The temperature was a bit up and down though. What you can't really see is where it looks white. See, that's pale pink. And pale pink was 16 degrees. And I think it's approaching that today on the 29th of December. My tulips are sprouting in the front garden. Oh, here there's a sparkly purple thread, which predictably won't sparkle. That's when the temperature was above 30 degrees. And that was in June. No, that was August. No, it was June. I'm not editing this. You know, I did that little trip round the Christmas lights in town. That took me about 3 hours to edit. I'm not editing this. I stand by my decision not to edit my podcasts. July, August, September. I feel like I'm going the wrong way again. I am going the wrong way again. That's the bottom. Oh, this is... I don't know why I plan anything. Do you think it'll be better next year? It might. October, November, December. And then originally I sewed them together, but I didn't like it. It didn't have enough give in it and it made all the squares very baggy. So I unpicked all that, and then I crocheted them together and did just a little crochet border. And it's the perfect size for having a little nap underneath, and I'd like to take a nap. I'm a great believer in naps. And I kept that going. I stitched it, I was going to say every day, but I didn't do every day because I was very, very poorly last year, a few times. And there were times when I was too poorly to even sit in bed and do any knitting. But I did religiously keep the temperatures going. And then I would catch up when I was feeling better. And one square, I think it was either April or May. It was April. I completely re-knit. I made a note of what colours I'd used, pulled it all down and re-knit it because I didn't like the pink I'd used for one of the temperatures. I did it in 5-degree increments, and one of them, it was quite a dusty pink, and it just got lost in all the other colours. It was the wrong tone. I tried to pick the same tone of pink and blue or turquoise so that they corresponded in the same tone. Is that making any sense to anybody? I know what I mean. And it just didn't fit in. So that got pulled down and I re-knit that. And it only took, I don't know, a couple of hours to re-knit a whole square. But whilst I enjoyed it, I wanted to do something different this year. And I started a temperature blanket that I abandoned in July because I let my husband Dave choose the colour scheme, and he chose greys, and it was all grey, shades of grey, and he wanted it knit just in garter stitch a row a day, and it was coming out, it was not very big at all, and it was just all a bit underwhelming after the year before's. So that just got abandoned, I'm afraid, and I'm not sure that I'll do another temperature blanket. It was fun, but now I have so much other knitting that I want to do that it takes up time a day that I could be knitting on something else. Something else that's replaced my bedroom knitting, which was the temperature blanket, is this blanket. And I wasn't going to show you because I haven't got a huge amount done since the time you saw it last, but I thought as it's my end of year roundup I should. So that's where I was when I showed you last time. I'd started this row in the wrong blue. I'd started it in the blue rather than the sort of turquoisey colour. So I've done 2 stripes and started the next one. So haven't done a great deal. I am though going to take this downstairs, and I plan to have it finished by the end of the week, which of course is also the end of the year. That's my plan. Sorry, I'm just moving my marker so that I don't forget. So could well be 2 blankets finished by the end of this year. And 3, possibly 4 scrap blankets begun. Definitely not finished. Scrap blankets for me are one of those projects that there's no time limit on, because you've got to wait for the scraps to do them with. So you can't say, well, I'll have it finished by such and such time, because of course you don't know when you're going to have the scraps. But I do know I've got some scraps coming up. Actually, well, I might as well talk. I was going to leave it and talk about it later, but I'm in blanket mode, so I might as well talk about it now. I organised my advent skeins ready to begin the advent shawl that I want to knit, which is Advent Envy by Amanda Rios. And it's designed to be knit each day for 24 days, because obviously you would open your skein and then you would knit. Well, I didn't want to do that because I wanted to organise my skeins in a way that I thought they would look best. So I waited till I'd opened them all. And so on New Year's Day, I'm going to cast on with the first one. I've wound up the first two. That's the first two. And then all the rest, sorry for the inadvertent advertisement for Avon there. What I'm going to do is I just take from the left each time. And I've got them all organised in the way that I think is going to work the best with the pattern. I'm hoping I'm right. The reason I've stuck this in the blanket section is that the pattern for the shawl requires 10 grams of each ball. And I've got between 16 and 20 grams of each ball, each mini. So with the leftovers from that, I'm going to start something else. Let me pause you because I didn't think to bring the pattern. Okay, with the scraps, the leftovers from the minis, I'm going to have a go at this. It's the Triangulum blanket by Ellie from Craft House Magic. My friend Caroline of the Aria Bark podcast is already knitting this, and she tells me that each triangle is taking about 3 or 4 grams, so I'm going to have plenty. I'm going to add other things into the blanket as well, and I've got a plan for how I'm going to do it, if I can make it work. So that's going to be my new scrap blanket for 2022. I've still got 2 corner to corner scrap blankets on the go, double knit and an Aran, and I've got my fingering weight scrap blanket, which is a Tunisian crochet. So yeah, lots of blanket action going on. That sounds really very rude, and I can't edit that out. I do apologise. Yes, I will be making lots of blankets. That's better in 2022. Okay, so far our running total is 24, possibly 25 pairs of socks, 6 sweaters, 1 blanket, nearly 2, nearly a cardigan, and 10 shawls. I've knit 10 shawls in 2021. That's a lie. I've knit 8 shawls and I've crocheted 2. One of them you saw back in my early podcasts, the virus shawl. Did I show that? I think I did. If I didn't, it's on my Ravelry. I'm sure it's on Ravelry. I'm pretty sure it's on Ravelry. I'll try and link to my Ravelry page down below so that you can see. There's 2, well, there's my own personal page, which is Mouse Witch, and then there's the group knitting podcast group, which is just Mouse's Makes. I'll try and link them both. Yes, so I crocheted the virus shawl, and I have just finished this very special crocheted shawl. This was a test pattern that I was doing for Alex from My Yarny Corner, and I absolutely loved doing it. I'm gonna wrap it around myself now. I'm gonna regret it because I'm already too hot. As I say, it's ever so warm here today, and I've got a woolly jumper on to begin with. Yeah, I think I'm going to wear it quite loosely like this, because I rather foolishly knitted it. No, I didn't. I crocheted it in 100% alpaca. I've never used alpaca before, but it looked lovely and it felt lovely, and so I used it. And then yesterday, when I'd finished blocking this and I put it on to take some photographs, I realised that I find it very itchy. Bit of a boo-boo there, but never mind. So let me show you the wool first of all. Drops alpaca in 0506, 0517 and where are we, 2925. It feels so lovely that I'm a bit gutted that I find it a bit itchy around my neck, and I've got a fair amount left because I bought more than I needed, and I don't really know what to do with the rest because it's itchy. Yeah, bad planning, never mind. Yes, so here is the pattern. That is the beautiful Alex. I'm sure if you watch my Yarny Corner you will recognise the beautiful Alex modelling her own version of the shawl. This pattern is due for release, I believe, on the 16th of January. If you follow my Yarny Corner on Instagram, you'll be notified of when the pattern goes live. There's lots of other stuff going on because it's her birthday, her partner Danny's birthday, who also dyes yarn for my Yarny Corner, and it's her podcast 1-year anniversary. So there's stuff going on. My advice would be follow her on Instagram and you won't miss out on anything. Yeah, obviously hers is done in different colours to mine, and I do love it. She was talking, I'm sure she said this on her podcast, so I'm all right to say it. She was talking about possibly doing a make-along for the shawl. If she does, I may well join in again with some yarn that I can actually bear to touch my skin. Let that be a lesson to myself. Don't get... Actually, the more I wear it, the less irritating it is. I might get away with it. I'm going to leave it on for a bit anyway. We'll see what happens. Okay. 24, possibly 20. I'm going to call it 25. They're odd socks, but you could wear them, couldn't you? 25 pairs of socks. 6 sweaters, almost a cardigan. 1 finished blanket, 1 almost finished blanket. 10 shawls and 3 hats. Now you've definitely seen the 3 hats because they were all for Christmas presents, and so they were all in recent podcasts. But again, they are on my Ravelry. 4 neck warmers. Again, you've seen them all. And 1 pair of fingerless mitts. The beautiful, peaceable mitts. And the name of the person who made them's gone completely out of my head. I'll link it below. No, it's gone. Gone. Which were for my daughter-in-law for Christmas. While we're on the subject of my daughter-in-law, I'm gonna give you a little bit of a... It goes in with the knitting highlights. Highlight of my year. I brought a picture to show you. I'm probably going to get into trouble for it, but I don't care. This was the highlight of my year, everybody. That is my extremely handsome, very clever, totally witty and charismatic eldest son on his wedding day to the beautiful, beautiful daughter that I would have picked for myself. I'm going to make myself cry in a minute. And I don't know if you can see, on her finger is a blue ring. And I'm going to tell you the story of the blue ring. Peter did it all properly. He spoke to her father and asked if he could ask for her hand in marriage. And her father said yes. And he went and he bought an engagement ring. And she has very tiny, tiny hands. Hence the fact that I had to make the mitts twice because I needed to go down a needle size. And he bought the smallest ring size that they had, and it didn't fit. And she was a little bit disappointed because everybody wanted to see her engagement ring, because that's what you do, isn't it? The first thing you do when somebody gets engaged is shriek, "Oh, let me see the ring." And I suddenly remembered that up in my jewellery box I had that little tiny blue ring that belonged to my grandmother and was given to my mother, who gave it to me, all of us having hands that were too big to wear it. Well, it fit Lauren perfectly. So while her ring went away to be resized, she wore that as her kind of interim engagement ring. And I love it. I feel like it was preordained, that it's come down through, well, 4 generations now of women just waiting to find her. Isn't that sweet? I bet you didn't realise I was so mushy. Anyway, that was the highlight of my year. New cast-ons. Christmas Day, I could wait no longer, and I cast on, oh, it's got a bit crushed, I'm sorry about this, the Botanic Shawl by Stephen West. Let me try and straighten it out a bit. There you go. And I'm glad I chose this one to cast on first, because it's been a perfect relaxing knit while you watch nonsense on television. Not done badly since Christmas Day. I'm using, oh, come back. I'm using the yarn that it recommends, but it's not striping quite as, not as well as I'd hoped. The stripes are wider than I'd hoped. Sorry, that took me a while to figure out what I was trying to say. But obviously as the shawl gets wider, the stripes will get shallower. So I do like the colours. There's another colour yet to appear. It's Zorbable in Smoking Area, and that sort of plummy colour is yet to make an appearance. And the main colour is Licorice, West Yorkshire Spinners Licorice, just black. I'd looked at doing a grey, but I didn't think there'd be enough contrast, particularly when you get to this sort of smoky grey sections, that there'd be enough contrast, and I didn't want it to look like I'd forgotten to do the stripes in bits. So very much enjoying that. It's quite a quick knit, and I've got on it my stitch marker, if you can see that. Oh, it's a little piece of Christmas cake, because I treated myself to, it was a stitch marker advent from, why does my brain always do this? I can't remember who I got it from. Hang on again. I can't remember, and I can't find the thing I was looking for. I will link the company below. She is on Instagram and Etsy, and it's the same lady that I bought the birthday themed stitch markers for the birthday sock-along prize. You're probably all shouting the lady's name at me at the moment. Anyway, I fell in love with the piece of Battenberg that was on the birthday stitch marker set, and I was going to buy that set again for myself, and then Tonya from Karma's a Stitch mentioned that she'd got a stitch marker advent, and I had no idea that those things even existed. So I went and had a look, and this lady did one for 12 days, and they're gorgeous. They're so sweet. And on Christmas, well, on Christmas Day, on day 12, I couldn't wait to open them. I opened them earlier in the month. On day 12 was a piece of Christmas cake, so obviously that had to go onto my Christmas cast on. That's that. Gosh, I hate coming to you with half a story. It might come back to me in a minute if I don't think about it. Sorry if you can hear a weird noise. The lady next door is out sweeping her patio. You might not be able to hear it. Right. Sorry, checking my list there. I didn't even write it down on my list. Maybe that should be one of my New Year resolutions. Knowing that I have a memory like a sieve, I should write things down a bit more frequently. Okay. The only thing left to do now is to show you my haul from Christmas, and I've been horribly spoiled. First thing I'm going to show you though is the full skein that came with my advent calendar. I'm not going to use it with the others because I think it's pretty enough to stand alone. It has got some really beautiful colours in it. I don't know what I'm going to make with it. It could be socks. I have yet to decide. As with all these things, I will just end up looking at it and might as well just put it in a frame. I just thought. One of the best things to come out of this year is that I started the podcast. And because I'd started the podcast, I started a Zoom. And before that, I'd joined a Zoom. And so I've made some really good friends. I spend, 12, 15 hours a week with people in Scotland, the north of England, America, without even leaving the house. And it's fantastic. And we have had some terrific conversations. We have laughed until we've cried. We've told each other all our frustrations, and it's been great. It's one of the best things about this year. But during a Zoom last week, one of the ladies said, how many skeins of hand-dyed yarn do you think is too many? Well, that sets into a panic then. And then that led on to, well, how many do you think you've got? And we all had a bit of a count up. I didn't have a count up until after Christmas. Not because I couldn't face it, although there may have been an element of that. But I discovered that with these skeins that I got for Christmas that I'm about to show you, I've got 42 skeins of hand-dyed yarn, which is a lot. And the purpose of the conversation that started was not so much how many is too many, but what is your number for how many is too many? And let me tell you, I think it's less than 42. My comfort number, I think, is less than 42. So I'm going to try very hard to stick to my not buying yarn and working from stash, because I need to get it down. Although I have already ordered Little Lycax sock club for January, but we're not going to talk about that. We did discuss that, and apparently sock clubs don't count. It's a way to get your fix, isn't it? Right, I'm going to show you my Christmas presents now, and I hope you won't think it's gloating, but I like to look at what other people have got, and I have been very spoiled, and I am aware that I've been very spoiled. So I'm going to show you. This was from my youngest son. It's from Little Mouse House, and it's artificial intelligence. And I am a bit of a sci-fi fan. I have, in fact, let me show you, got my coffee today in a rather sad looking Star Trek mug that I've had for a very long time and hasn't weathered the dishwasher very well. Then from my husband. Sorry to wiggle you. Everything fell off. From Ducky Darlings, Wild Walking, which is the green, and if you've been watching a while, you'll know Peony, which is my favourite of her colourways. And he didn't even know that, but he was having a look and he saw the colours in it and thought, oh, that's all the colours Mandy likes. I'll get her that one. And then from Peter and Lauren, again from Ducky Darlings, I got Brew and Cider Keg. Brew's coming out a little bit more orange than it is in real life. And they all, see if I can do this, I haven't got very big hands. They all go together rather well. So there's a possibility they may all end up in the same project together, but then there's also a possibility that they may end up separately in projects, because I have certainly one, possibly two yarns that would go very nicely with this, and I think I've got some that would go with this. Don't know. I've got my, I showed you the other day that I'd got a few, oh, gosh, words are not my friend today. I do apologise. It's very frustrating to watch, I'm sure. I've got a few patterns that I intend to start the year with, and I've got one cast on already. I'm holding off casting on any of the others until I finish the blanket and Peter's cardigan, because they're priority. They've been hanging around for a while. Peter's cardigan certainly has been hanging around for a while. So I don't know if any of these skeins will end up in those projects, but they are almost certainly going to end up in projects before the end of the year. I also got a set of little cross stitch markers from a lady at church who realised that I love to knit and that I have a bit of a stitch marker obsession. I mean, don't we all? And she found these. Oh, I wonder what that was then, frightened me. She found these, and the lady who makes them, Beth Butcher, makes a lot of Christian inspired crafty things. I don't know how else to describe it. It's worth having a look if that's your thing. So, stitch markers to go with my yarn, and then let me put this back. I'm actually quite enjoying it now. The longer I wear it, definitely the less itchy it gets. I got some knitting books. I'd put 3 on my list in the hope that I might get one, and I got all 3. Told you I'd been really badly spoiled. So I got this one, West Knits book 3, and there are at least 3, possibly 4 things that I want to knit from here to go with those two full folders. Then I also was hugely lucky enough to get 52 weeks of socks. I haven't had much chance to flick through it as yet. I was trying to look through it on Christmas Day, and well, people just don't understand, do they? They're like, it's a book full of patterns, what are you looking at? Well, I'm looking at the pictures. Yeah, I will almost certainly be making some of these. I did find one, and again I forgot to mark it, that I knew straight away I had to make, but I have of course lost it. with these books, what would help would be if they put in a couple of pages with just all the pictures. You know, like they do at the beginning of a magazine, so you had a bit of an idea of where to look for something. No, can't find it. Won't waste any more of your time looking for it, as we're already up to 40 minutes. Sorry for wiggling you. And the other book that I put on my list, 52 Weeks of Shawls. And as I say, I got them all. And again, there are some in here that are absolute certainties to be made. There's a couple, I think, of Stephen West's in here. I saw one, I'm sure, yeah. That one I think is a Stephen West one that I want to have a go with, because I think, yeah, Rainbow Road, that one is. I think you can probably do it with, sorry, I just realised I'm falling off the edge of the screen. Sorry, I fell into the book. Yeah, I think you can probably do that with leftovers. I have to investigate a bit more closely. I'm going to put this down, I swear. It's very rude. See, that's another one I'd like to make. I don't know if you can see. That one is Windgate by Fiona Alice. But that looks like a big snuggly. It's sock yarn though. Let me show you. Oh, it's a bigger picture of it. I mean, look at that. That's nigh on a blanket. I like the look of that. Anyway, that is all I have to show you. I've rounded up my year. I've managed not to cry, though it was a close run thing. And so all that's left to do is to wish you a happy new year. We've only got a couple of days left of 2021, and then 2022 will be upon us. I'm not sure whether there will be a podcast next week. I'm going to say I'm not sure if there will be, in case I haven't got enough content, rather than say I'll see you next week and then not be on. I'm toying with the idea of going to fortnightly rather than weekly podcasts. It just depends how much knitting I've got done, because last year I was doing a lot of socks, so that's quite a quick turnover, but I'm on to larger projects this year which take a bit longer, so we'll just see. We'll see how it goes. I'm now up to 45 minutes in what I'd hoped would be quite a short podcast. So again, I'm going to wish you Happy New Year. I hope that the worst problems you encounter next year just involve frogging back a couple of rows. And yeah, I'll see you in 2022. Happy knitting, everyone.